Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Jonathan Pryor. I am the head of community outreach at Sayville Library, and you have joined us this evening for Holiday Favorites Made Healthy with Long Island Community Hospital. I am welcoming Dan Walker, our presenter this evening, and also Carolyn Villegas, staff at the hospital as well. Just to let everyone know, please keep yourselves on mute for the duration of the program. This program is being recorded and will be available after we're finished on Sayville Library's YouTube channel and also via the hospital's website as well. So thank you once again for joining us. I'm going to turn the presentation over for a brief moment to Carolyn Villegas from Long Island Community Hospital and let her share a few words. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, and thank you, Sayville Library, for once again inviting Long Island Community Hospital to share some of our good education. And tonight we have Dan Walker, which is very exciting. Believe me, he can make even the healthiest food taste fantastic, and it's personal experience I'm talking from. So I just want to let you know we're doing a few things in Sayville this coming, well, not this weekend, but the following, November 27th. We're going to be sponsoring part of the Miracle on Main, which is happening November 27th. We're sponsoring the live reindeer display. So if you're not busy that day, come on down to Sayville and enjoy that whole Miracle on Main. And also that same day, it's a very busy day. We have Patchogue Chamber of Commerce is doing their Small Business Saturday. So we'll be down giving away some 200, the first 200 people down there will get these great goodie bags that they've put together, and we'll have a little something in that bag as well. And also the Sanders Toy Trot, the Kiwanis Club of Patchogue sponsors, and we'll be part of that as well, the Toy Trot down by Shorefront Park. So all these great things, that's December 5th. So there's plenty of things coming up. I encourage you to visit our website, Long Island Community Hospital, and also our Facebook page for all the exciting upcoming events and just to keep up with whatever we have going on at the hospital. But I don't want to take up too much of time because I can see Dan is just biting at the bit, pardon the pun, to get going on this. So I'm going to turn it over to Dan, who is our Assistant Director of Food Services at Long Island Community Hospital. So take it away, Dan.
Good evening, Sayville Library. Thank you for having me. It is not easy to make time to eat healthy during the holiday season, but here's a way that can maybe help you embrace that. During tonight's presentation, we're going to discuss how eating during the holidays creates memories, and it's something that we look forward to all year long. We'll talk a little bit about how some surveys report individuals gain from anywhere from 2 to 7 pounds between Thanksgiving and New Year's. Also during this class, we will learn ways to adapt traditional holiday favorites to a healthier version without sacrificing the flavor. Easier said than done, but try to make a plan for the day. Don't skip meals while waiting for the feast. It will be harder to manage your blood sugar and you'll be really hungry by the time it is time to eat that delicious turkey and all the trimmings and fixings. And you maybe just will overeat then. Try to maybe schedule the holiday meal around your normal meal times. Keeping yourself in routine is best. If you are saving up a little bit for that feast, just eat smaller meals or snacks during the day until it's time for dinner. When it is time for the holiday meal, maybe try to use a smaller plate. So this way your plate fills up quicker and it helps with your portion control. Portion control is one of the biggest ways to really maximize how you can enjoy a little bit of each thing, each dish at your holiday table without having to feel like you need to eat and eat and eat and overeat. Another thing you can do is if you're hosting or you're going to family members or friends' homes, you can offer to bring a healthy dish. Which might be new for everyone you're enjoying the meal with. And if your host or hosting or your host is open to it, maybe you can share a healthy recipe with them. If you enjoy sweets, maybe just cut back on the high carbohydrate dishes. As we know, carbohydrates, your body processes them and turns them into sugar, and that can really cause a fluctuation in your blood sugar. This is a small diagram on My Plate holiday makeover. And as you can see, each little area here kind of shows how much of each you should put on your plate and how you should focus them. One thing I'd like to touch base on is it says make half your grains whole, right? So that's like, what that means is choosing whole wheat bread as opposed to a white bread when you're making your stuffing. Maybe you can use, if you do need to make it a traditional bread stuffing, you can use a whole grain bread. And try different dishes instead of white rice, maybe a brown rice, or even like some of the healthier grains like farro or quinoa. They turn out to be a very tasty and delicious alternative to the ultra processed white grains and flours. Vary your vegetables. I mean, we always say to eat the rainbow. The more colorful it is, the more healthy, the more nutrients. And there's so many different wonderful vegetables with this fall season. So try to take advantage and enjoy those. Going with lean proteins. Everybody loves that crispy skin on the turkey. It's the best. However, if that's something you need to worry about, then maybe just pull the skin off and just eat the meat, and maybe just eat a little bit of the skin. White meat turkey is generally a more lean protein. So that fits right in there for Thanksgiving. And fruits and vegetables. We really prefer to eat the whole fruit, right? Whole apple. Pears are great this time of year. The full grapes, the harvest, the grapes are the sweetest this time of year. So really just try to enjoy those fresh fruits. Proteins are important because they're needed in the body for many functions such as healing and muscle growth. They're a great way to help you feel full and are a part of a balanced plate. Adjust your holiday favorite proteins with heart-healthy versions. As I touched on, white meat turkey, skipping out on the skin. Low sodium or fresh ham is a great substitute as well. A lot of the store-bought honey baked hams are very, very high in sodium. Great alternative is fresh ham. It cooks up white, similar to fresh pork loin, and it has no added sodium or ingredients. And you can season it, by using fresh herbs and garlic and different things, as opposed to just loading it up with sodium. If you're into seafood, lean seafoods, flaky white fishes, salmon is very good. Salmon has a lot of omega-3, which is excellent for your body and your brain and your joints. And if you make, as we do in my house, a nice big bubbling lasagna, try using ground turkey instead of beef, the red meat. Ground turkey is much less, has much less fat. For your side dishes, sometimes those are what we look forward to most. The sweet potato casseroles and the stuffing. So here are some suggestions. You can add more non-starchy vegetables, such as Brussels sprouts, green beans. You can avoid butter, cheese, or cream sauces. Simply by roasting these vegetables, it can bring out intense flavor and you need minimal added fat. And if the little bit of fat that we recommend is olive oil, um, olive oil is always going to be your best. It affects the flavor of the vegetables the least because as it heats, it naturally breaks down and it loses that intense olive oil flavor, and it just gives you the nice desired roasting. Um, and if fresh vegetables aren't an option, oops, pardon me. If fresh vegetables aren't an option, uh, then try to use frozen vegetables rather than canned. Canned has a lot of processing agents and are generally much higher in sodium. So some substitutes: instead of butter and oil, try unsweetened applesauce in your holiday desserts. There are many, many recipes out on the internet today that you can that you can find with a click, and so many of these are delicious. I just very recently actually tried out a new apple cake recipe using fresh apples and applesauce, and as opposed to the butter, and it turned out very moist, very cakey. It didn't really affect the consistency, and everyone liked it. We can also try out, as I mentioned earlier, different whole grains, or chickpea pasta. Chickpea pasta is an incredible alternative. When pastas were needed to be subbed out, the initial one everybody went for was quinoa pasta. And a lot of people did not care for it right away because it ended up cooking up very dense and had almost like a cardboard consistency. So as the need has arisen, there are many more different pastas. Chickpea pasta is a great one. I've also had some lentil pastas made from ground lentils, which are packed with protein and cook up very light, surprisingly light. And you can get them in any supermarket. They're that popular now. Another nice alternative is creamy, low-fat or fat-free Greek yogurt. Can be used in place of sour cream. For heavy cream, you can substitute that out with skim or low-fat milk, or even evaporated milk. And again, to reduce the sodium intake, flavorful herbs and spices can be used. Here at Long Island Community Hospital, for our patient menu, we have 0 recipes with any added salt. We focus on cooking technique and the use of fresh herbs, garlic, and spices. When you're in the supermarket looking at your spices, there's a lot of blends out there. We use typically Mrs. Dash because it's sodium free. But when you're in the supermarket, take a minute to read the label to make sure that there's not a ton of added sodium. Some of those, especially like the steak rubs and chicken rubs, Goya and McCormick tend to have a ton of added sodium, which is why they're so delicious. Here's a little grid here with some suggestions on those herbs and spices. Garlic, rosemary, onions, and red peppers. Crushed red pepper for Italian dishes, stuff like that. But let's talk a little bit about garlic, rosemary, and onion. For this season, rosemary goes wonderful with turkey, fresh pork, garlic, onions. Those are great ways. You can roast your turkey. You can stuff the cavity with the fresh herbs and the onions and the garlic. You barely have to do any prep work to them. Just peel them, chunk them up, stuff them in there. And, it really lends a nice flavor to the turkey. As the turkey slow roasts, the natural oils come out and really permeate through the skin and into the meat. And, you won't really miss the salt. And why am I so against salt? Well, a high use of salt increases the risk of cardiovascular disease. And unfortunately, that's something that everyone must be mindful of, because we want you to be healthy. When you're at the table, it's finally time to eat. Fit in your favorites. Don't restrict yourself and have favorite foods, and have the favorite foods you're looking forward to. As I said earlier, the side dishes sometimes are the best ones, So when you're using your plate, you can again grab a smaller plate and fit a little bit of each on there. Or if you're going to go around for seconds, really plan out your portions and just make sure that you don't miss out, and just take a little bit of each and exercise the portion control. Even though you might be waiting and hungry, take your time while eating. Slow down and savor a small serving and enjoy it. And really just allow your body to use all its senses to enjoy the meal to its fullest. Besides the taste, you're going to get the aroma and the laughter of the friends and family, and just slow down and enjoy. Maybe in between the meal and dessert, try to fit in some physical activity. Take a walk. If it is not the greatest weather out there, maybe you and your friends and family can do a little dance party or play charades, or just, a little Simon Says something, anything to get moving a little bit. And listen to your body. That's the most important thing. Always listen to your body. It will tell you when you're full. And if you listen to that, you'll have a much more pleasant experience. You won't feel that exhaustion after the meal. You won't feel that need to just collapse into the couch and take a nap. And you can just enjoy the holiday. Here's a recipe. It's a cauliflower stuffing. You can make this either in the casserole dish, or you can do this directly inside the turkey. That's completely up to you. Either way, the recipe works fine. And it's just a nice alternative to a bread stuffing. Cauliflower, local cauliflower especially, is popping right now. A lot of the farms out east are really getting their second harvest and flooding the farmers markets and supermarkets. So you can get some really, really tasty local Long Island cauliflower. And it's got all those things we talked about: onion, celery, fresh garlic, unsalted butter, which is why I thought it would be okay to use a little bit of kosher salt. Kosher salt's important because it's less refined, and so it's like a little bit bigger, and generally it's not iodized, so it's a little bit bigger, so you need less of it. And it's got black pepper, thyme, sage. Even though it says dried, fresh is always best. Portobello mushrooms. There's our olive oil. And you can do a little bit of fresh parsley for garnish. Really brightens it back up, because after you roast it, it does get a little bit dark. So the parsley gives it a nice touch to bring it back, and some floral notes. So there's the recipe there. And does anyone have any questions?
Yeah. I do notice that Roberta in the chat had mentioned it was made with 6 tablespoons of butter. So that is for the full recipe, but you could certainly like half that if you're concerned. So the whole head of cauliflower should probably make like how many servings? Like I'm going to say at least 10 servings altogether of stuffing. Does that sound about right, Dan? You're probably better with recipes. So what would be a good oil to sub out for slow roasting? Would it be the olive oil if you did want to cut down the butter in that recipe?
Mhm. And again, that's an unsalted butter. And if the fat is the concern, again, I would definitely go with the just olive oil. It's not necessary. Butter lends a lot of flavor. So you can go ahead and substitute just olive oil for that. I see that someone asked how
else
we can
has,
get it.
a copy of the recipe. So Jonathan, would you be able to email that? I could send it to you on a regular sheet and so you could attach it from the slide if you want.
Absolutely, Jessica. If you can send me that recipe, I will send it to all of our participants this evening. Like
That'd be great.
And
Thank
we'll
you,
also
Jonathan.
post it on our Facebook page tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you, Carolyn.
Hey, Dan, I've got a question for you. How
Hi,
are you?
Cynthia. Great to see you. How are you?
Good to see you. I love olive oil, so I'll definitely make all those substitutions. But is it bad to have too much olive oil?
So yes, if you are roasting vegetables, a good rule of thumb is to start with a little and do your mixing. And then if you feel like you need more, just add a little bit more. But if you add too much, it will just kind of pool up at the bottom of your dish and make your stuffing soggy or your vegetables that you're roasting. So you're going to want to, you can always add a little. It's not so easy to take away. So start off a little bit light and then give it a good mix. And like you said, you'll see the vegetables be nice and shiny and you'll know when they're fully coated. So
I
great
like the
question.
spray oils. I try not to use the aerosol can, Cynthia, but if you've ever seen like the Misto where you manually pump it so it's not an aerosol can and it's reusable, I think that I got it like Home Goods years ago, but I use it so much and it's so helpful because you could evenly spread it and it gives you less of a portion size. And again, it's reusable. So I always I've given them out as gifts because that's a nice way to control the oil you use in recipes too. And again, it's not aerosol based and you could reuse it. So for me, I felt a little better because it was more like eco-conscious, but I use that a lot for when I'm cooking. But Dan's definitely the expert, but I know if I'm watching my calories, I like that it's a little bit more controlled, if you will.
Cool.
Pampered Chef makes that bottle too.
Oh yeah, awesome. Good to know.
So does
Jessica,
Bed Bath & Beyond carry it.
Jessica, I'm sorry. Would you just introduce yourself as well?
Oh, sorry. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to be on tonight, but if you hear my kids in the background, that's why. So my name's Jessica Schreck. I'm the interim director at Long Island Community Hospital. I'm a registered dietitian and a certified diabetes educator. So I'm more of the nutrition focused and Dan's the culinary expert. So we try to combine minds as often as possible for our patients. So thank you guys again, Jonathan. This is the second class I've sat in for you guys with your patrons, and so we really appreciate you having us on.
We are the library is super thankful that Long Island Community Hospital has become such a tremendous educational resource for patrons in our community. So this has been one of many topics that we've discussed. We've discussed diabetes. We have discussed stroke health and prevention. We have discussed cardiovascular health. And so something like this fits very nicely. This presentation is really the nuts and bolts of cardiovascular health. So, I'm thinking of family members during the holidays that have things like cardiovascular disease and have had interventions for that. Also, folks in my family that are diabetic. So substitutions are definitely a key that goes into what I'm thinking of for the holidays. So that cauliflower stuffing is something I definitely want to look at. I myself am looking at more vegetarian-based items, It's
Okay,
great.
speaking of that, Jonathan, I'm gonna put on display what I just roasted, the butternut squash.
Ah,
Okay, so
looks
that could be a
fantastic, Carol.
holiday favorite there. I would show the other half, but John already ate that. So that does usually come with two halves.
Looks great, Carolyn.
that's great. And I think a great idea too to substitute some of those other lean meats. If you're not a big turkey eater, pork is also a good alternative as well. That certainly works. So that's great.
Yes.
Even adding walnuts or like ground, like sliced almonds, if you're vegetarian, it adds like a nice textural component, but it also has the healthy fats. I know Dan makes a lot of recipes where he'll add like incorporate not walnuts and almonds. And again, especially if you are not a big meat eater, but you want that protein, it definitely helps add the protein and the healthy fats. You make a really good, we should send this out, that when you make the stuffed, will you stuff it with farro? It's like an acorn squash, Dan.
Yes.
The
Yeah,
farro stuffing, you add nuts too, right? It's so good.
Yes. So this time of year, I try to, for the employee cafeteria, I always have some sort of vegetarian option. And this time of year, squash is so in season. And so I like to make the acorn squash. It makes like a perfect little bowl. And we do like a farro stuffing. Same thing, just some onions, carrots, celery, and some fresh herbs. And farro cooks like rice. So we use a low sodium vegetable broth to cook the farro in with those other ingredients. We saute them in a little olive oil first, and then add in the farro and the low sodium vegetable broth. And instructions for cooking it are on the box or bag. And you can get that at any supermarket also. For the cooking ratio of liquid to the grain. But I love farro. It has a very earthy tone and just fits very, very well with the acorn squash. And since it's so earthy, the sweetness of the acorn squash really balances it out so nicely. And it's a popular item when we put it on. So definitely try that. That's a great alternative. And if you get if you get an acorn squash that's too big, if you quarter it, you can still kind of get like the cup shape out of it, and it will, the way when you pack it in your casserole dish, to roast it all together, it will just keep its shape. So and it'll be done when the squash is fork tender.
I think you could do a class alone on all the different squashes now, like delicata. I recently now fell in love with, and I'm not plugging this place, I get no kickbacks, but the farm stand on Lakeland Avenue has all these squashes that we talk about. So I'm local right in Holbrook, so I frequent that farm stand all the time. And like Dan said, like seasonal, it's more nutrient dense. You're supporting local businesses, but also it's much more cost friendly when you have the ability to eat local. So I don't know if there's any more farm stands in Sayville, but I know the one on Lakeland does have a nice variety. I go there pretty often, so we're lucky to have that local to us.
And delicata squash is also very easy to prep because you don't have to peel that either.
Oh, I did not know that. See, I was peeling it when I made it. I should ask you before I try any new recipe.
So yeah.
What was
Yeah, we enjoy
squash again?
Delicata.
Okay, thank you.
And it's like a little bit less carb from the nutrition end. It's a little bit less starchy than other. I've seen some resources say it's a non-starchy squash, and some say that it is. I'm going to say it's like an in-between, because it's not as low in carbohydrate as say like a zucchini or a summer squash, but it's definitely not as starchy as a butternut or an acorn. It's like, I feel like a little bit middle ground with the starch content, but it still roasts up really nicely.
Yes.
Very nice. You can tell I'm taking notes.
That's great. That's great.
Any other questions this evening from anyone?
I just want to say thank you to everyone that I see everything here in the chat and you know, speaking on behalf of Long Island Community Hospital, we are certainly glad to be a part of this as well.
Great, thank you. Great, terrific. If there are no other questions, that's great. We can finish up our presentation tonight and hope that everyone eats well and eats in a healthy fashion over the holidays to enjoy it and also make it good for you so that there are no regrets after the holidays. So we'll work on that all together. All right, thank you so much. If that's about it for the evening, welcome. Thanks for joining us for Holiday Favorites Made Healthy with Long Island Community Hospital. Thank you so much, Dan, for a really informative presentation. Some
pleasure.
great alternatives to keep mindful of and wonderful ways to use them. I will be sending out those recipes to all of our participants. Just as soon as I get those, you'll see them in your inbox, and we'll get them there before the holiday season hits. Thank you, Carolyn Villegas, for your consistent help and always willing partnership with Save a Library to run these educational seminars. And Long Island Community Hospital, we certainly give you a huge shout out and a great thank you for the wonderful educational resource you have been in promoting the health of all of us here in our area. So thank you so much for being there for us. All right, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for always inviting us in, and it's our pleasure to bring all these services and this education to you.
Great. Thank you, Carolyn. All right. And Jessica, thank you so much as well. I remember us running a program before as well. And that was just wonderful when we had a few dietitians on together. So thank you so much. It's great getting to know all the staff over there at the hospital. Everyone is just so wonderful, so helpful, well-educated, and just a tremendous resource. Thank you again, everyone.
Our pleasure. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Have a great night, everyone.
You too.
Everyone, thank you.